Welcome back to another fantasy video with me, JD. You're joining me for the round 3 review. First of all, let's get out of the way. Apologies, there was no video last week. It was absolutely my intention to give an update, but I was in Melbourne for most of the week, and the Supercoach stuff, of course, comes first, so we didn't get to do one. But we're back here, round 3, and that is all good. Had a pretty decent week, so a 2170 put me up to 495 overall. Had 227k banked, and I think my team value now is about the top 5 or 6 in the comp, which I'm being led to believe is pretty good because at this time of the year, really, team value is what matters a lot. And then as you start to get that value, that money onto the field, hopefully that produces points that helps you outperform the rest of the competition. Although I'm sure there's lots of other highly ranked coaches with pretty good team value, so still more work to be done from here. So trades last week were, it's a good question. Powell and who was my other trade? I mean, I can go back and look, but my memory should work. Hold on. Who was like a failed mid pricer I had? Oh, this is rough. So my ins, it was McRae, with the failed premium. So McRae and this is not good. I already forgot the first player, Powell, to Day and Setterfield, which I think was net positive points on the week. Look, I was lucky that I didn't get caught out with the LDU drama, but if I'd known that LDU and Simkin were going to be out, I would have held Powell and traded Constable. So a little bit unfortunate in that regards because Powell, scored a 80 or something like decent, I think, and what did he go? I made an extra 23k, so I left a little bit of money on the table, an 80, yeah. So a few points and a little bit of money on the table, but a much better outcome than those that actually had LDU, for example. So I guess I can't complain about that too much. I'm relatively good end of the spectrum. And the only reason I couldn't change is because the edit trade function is like just so bad that trying to get Constable out instead of Power just didn't work. But yeah, that's all right. So let's go through the team. All right, so Sicily, Dawson, Dacos is my 3 big defenders. Starting Sicily was definitely been one of the key success so far. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like top average of any player so far. What's Oliver? Average 120. Okay, so Oliver's clearly number 1, but I mean Sicily up there with 116, pretty good. Actually, is Brayshaw beating me out too? I don't have any of these midfielders, as you can see. No, 108. I've got a pretty sparse midfield. Okay. English beating him. All right, Sicily must be second overall. So he's made lots of money, but yeah, very good pick. They're junking it up a lot in that Hawks backline, which I love watching from a fantasy perspective. Dawson moved into the midfield this week, 60% CBAs, which was good for his super coach, but bad for fantasy. And to be honest, I think I'd rather see him in that halfback role where he's going to get kick-ins and get some +6s through the kick mark in the back line. So I'll be keeping an eye on news this week to see if they persist with that or not, because it kind of does hurt Dawson's standing a little bit. And then Dacos, I started, but yeah, continues to be good. So no concerns there. Daya jumped on this week. Good week to do it. 128, made another 68k. So yep, coming along well. And then one of my pods, Jaden Hunt, was only like 4% owned at the start of the year. Put another 80 out there, which is good. Maybe a little bit fortunate because he kicked 3 goals over the last couple of games. And then obviously with all the injuries on the weekend, he basically had to play out the game. But back-to-back 80s, he's making some nice money. I think he was like top 13 or 15 or something like that price rises for the week. So that's pretty good. I mean, he plays against his old Bob this week in Melbourne. So revenge game, expect a good one out of him for that. But yeah, he'll be one that probably can move on at least early in my upgrade cycle up to someone else. Constable, if he's back this week, I'll probably hold. If he's not, he'll be good to go. Cowan, I think, might get dropped. And then Wilmot is going along nicely. He's obviously 66 on the field with Constable out. In the midfield, so I held Josh Kelly, who was a pod at the start of the year anyway. Now he's 2% pod, so holding, very happy with. I had Cherry and Bytel, if you remember my round 1 video. So this is the one of the 3 I decided to hold, which looks like it's been good so far. Keep it up, Josh. And then, yeah, Green, one of my starting picks as well. He's been good, 110 for his price. Great. Setterfield jumped on this week, which, 88's not as good, but still made 50k. And once again, he may be someone that end up moving on pretty early if he doesn't end up continuing to perform. but one of his old mobs this week in GWS, so we'll see how he goes there. Warple looked good over the first 2 weeks, but this last one was kind of really disappointing. What did he have in the first two? 96 and 82. So his break even's around 51. He's definitely someone that you can hold, but I don't have too many other players to bounce this week, so I've got money to spend. So he's on the chopping block along with Constable. And then the rookies here have all been very good. Ginby, Ashcroft, and Kedzie don't need to say much about. Holland's probably had a bit of a down round, but his fixture gets very soft here with North, Crom, Saints, West Coast. I think he can make some good money and even be a potential on-field option. Chess is out for a few weeks, which is a little bit disappointing because at 237k, can't do much with him. But I didn't start a loophole, so at least between Chesser, Peddler, and Constable, I've now got a few options. And then, yeah, Davey has been all right. Wits has been just okay. Look, I'd rather have this be English, and that's definitely where I'm going to be losing points to some of the other top teams, as well as maybe this midfield for those that have Oliver. So yeah, Oliver, English, and maybe Doherty are probably the three I'm most worried about not owning at the moment, but really like the rest of my side. Marshall has been fine for his price tag. And then hopefully Samson Ryan isn't getting subbed off every week and continuing to get games, because I was hoping to get a little bit more money out of him. Forwards, I think Dunkley, Taranto, Rosie, Goulden are all pretty stock standard, as well as Zeeble and Sheasel. Like, I'm sure this is most people's forward lines. And then, yeah, the forward rookies here of Green, Chandler, and Peddler. Chandler, I've been really impressed with, made a fair bit of money. Was it like a low DT score for him? I know his super coach was still good, but he only had about 9 touches, right? Oh, he went 64, 66. Hundreds out of his price range now. Against West Coast this week, so he could have another big one. And then Peddler's got a week off, so we'll be cover. All right, so with the 227k in the bank, what are we going to do? Well, I think the only underperformers I've got looking at this side at the moment are Constable and Warple. I could look at, if Cowan gets dropped, getting rid of him, but it's only 80k. Chesser, not worth moving on from. And I don't think there's really any clouds over anyone else in this side so far in terms of won't they get picked this week. So let's move out Warple and Constable for now. I mean, if Constable gets named, this will probably have to change, because I think I assume he's got a pretty low break even. Okay, the rookie of the week to get will be... Who are we going to throw in there? Dunkley. You can go in the mids. Will be Van Rooyen, who scored a 76 on the weekend, has that West Coast matchup. That should be pretty good. And then I've got 970k here. So, look, short of Oliver, would I get him if I could? Probably not. I was hoping Doherty would drop a little bit more, but he's the one I'm probably looking at most closely at the moment. So these would be my trades, I think. The only other option I can think of is, like, if Constable doesn't get named, can I get Stewart? Because that is someone that I'm somewhat at least interested in. How would I do it? I have to get rid of a mid still. And I'd be getting in Stewart. 209k. It's not much. So really, I could actually, like, even get rid of Chesser, which I don't think is a good move. But if Cowan gets dropped, I could get rid of Cowan. Although it would be weird if they, like, getting rid of Cowan and not getting Sincotta. But yeah, so that, like, this could be the other trade, I guess, if Constable gets named and Cowan gets dropped. Something like this instead. But yeah, I think Doherty this week, especially given he's another, like, captain, vice captain option again, this seems to make a lot of sense to me. So let's go to the team. Only 20k cash remaining now. Have to move all these tiles around. Satisfying or annoying? You be the decider. And see, like, I even need to organize the bench one, and then it's gonna stuff around the emergency as well. A little bit annoying that I can't loophole into the back line with Chesser being stuck on this mid bench along with Ginby. I'm going to move Dunkley up the top there. Always complain about him, not getting mid time. So got to do it in our fantasy sides too. And then Van Rooyen's the one that's going to have to get shuffled around along the bottom. And then Chandler on, which I think I'm really happy to achieve that this week. Actually, I probably got the emergency on Van Ruin over Green. Um, yeah, happy to get Chandler on, Hollands on, and then get Wilmot off because I think Chandler goes, well, like Hollands and Chandler go better than Wilmot. I think on a week to week basis. So yeah, pretty happy with that. They like Chandler and Hollands probably are the two weakest on field rookies, especially Hollands. So finding a way to get someone off in the midfield would be a priority. I think the tricky thing is like I'm interested in Stewart still, which would then really fill up that defense. But I actually don't know how I make that happen. And it also means like I don't really have anywhere for Sheasel and Zeeble to go once they get DPP. So that's a little bit scary. Got to think about that. Like, is Doherty the right move considering that? Because Stewart's like, it's just Stewart's good value. And then other options, I guess, because this is what I'm starting to think about. Like, what are some of the other places I could go to? So Laird's getting pretty cheap, so maybe him in a couple of weeks. He's already lost 100k. He's now got that 83 in his system, so he'll have a big break even. Brayshaw had a bit of a poor game, so he might get a little bit cheaper. Bailey Smith is a lock for forward status, but honestly, his time on grounds dropped, so I don't like love this as an option, but wasn't doing too bad before this. So he's someone that you could definitely look at as a forward option once he gets that DPP, 5% owned. Crouch will be like sneaky good while Steele's out, but well, it's a month. And then Miller's probably the one that's got the good buy. Same with Stewart. Like, that's part of the reason to appeal for those options. They got the good buy. You can carry them through that really nicely. Same with Witt. So having those three really helped me through the buys. So he dropped to 88, but I think he looked pretty good, to be honest. So yeah, I could see him like kind of drop maybe 1 or 2 weeks and pick him up before North Richmond. You know, there's not some pretty nice games in there. So they're probably the targets I'm thinking about this week. Whether bringing Doherty in makes sense is probably the big one. And then vice captain. Oh, I didn't arrange that properly with Price. I think it's probably just going to be Doherty into Sicily. It's so shameful, but just smash these defenders racking up the cheap ball. I think that makes a lot of sense at the moment. So yeah, I think pretty happy with the team overall. Not having Oliver and English is probably the two biggest concerns, but given the rest of the value that I seem to have gotten right, pretty happy with where it's at the moment. On the chopping block next week is probably some combination of Hunt, or like if Setterfield underperforms or if Zeeble underperforms, some combination of those three to kind of get the next premium upgrade going, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it'll just be injury watch and probably rookie watch as well. So if Sincotta comes in, if Fahey comes in, the defender mid rookies that'll be cheap. I think Fahey's cheap in this format. Yeah, they're probably like the two that I'm looking at. But yeah, if you got any fantasy questions for me, hit me up below. If you've got any thoughts on trades, what you'd be doing different, also please let me know. Captain, vice, anything like that. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.